Alright, so let's solve the 5th day of Advent of Code in TempleOS. Hydrothermal venture. You come across a field of hydrothermal vents. I have no idea what is a hydrothermal vent, so let's take a look at it. So it's this thing, apparently. So, okay, that's cool. On the ocean floor. These vents constantly produce large opaque clouds, so it would be best to avoid them if possible. They tend to form in lines. The submarine helpfully produces a list of nearby lines of vents, your puzzle input, for you to review. For example, okay, so here is the... It depends on what is first number. Is the first number X or is it first... okay, so it is X. So that means it is... Y is constant, right, so it's like a horizontal line then. Okay. Each line of vent is given as a line segment in the format xy, x1, okay, I get it, where x1, y1 are the coordinates of one end, the line segment, and this is the second end. These line segments include the points at both ends. In other words, an entry like 1, 1, 1, 3 covers points 1, 1, 1, 2, 1, 3. An entry something like this covers points. Okay, so it goes in the other direction as well. So, okay. For now, only consider horizontal and vertical lines. Lines where either x1 equal to x2 or y1 equal to y2. So the horizontal and vertical lines from the above list would produce the following diagram. Okay, so here is the diagram. Cool. In this diagram, the top left corner is 0, 0, and the top right corner, the bottom right corner is 9, 9. Each position is shown as the number of lines which cover the point or dot. As the number of lines which cover that point. Ah, okay, I see. Okay, so that makes sense. If no line covers the point, the top pair of ones, for example, comes from is the very bottom overlapping. Okay, so there's a lot of things. To avoid the most dangerous areas, you need to determine the number of points where at least 2 lines overlap. In the above example, this is anywhere in the diagram with 2 or larger, a total of 5 points. Consider only horizontal and vertical lines. At how many points do at least 2 lines overlap? Okay, cool. So that is pretty straightforward. So they already kind of gave you the approach that you have to take, right? So they literally explain you, this is how you solve it, right? It's kind of strange, right? So you give the problem and you also explain how to solve that problem. Well, I mean, this approach may not work if there is like a lot of like puzzle input or something like that, or the ranges are too huge. If we take a look at the ranges don't seem to be that big, right? None of the numbers seem to be bigger than 1,000, so you can basically allocate 1,000 by 1,000 array, right? And there's not that many lines in here, so it should be pretty straightforward to just like put them in the memory and that's it. So yeah, let's go ahead and like implement the naive approach, which basically just draws that in the memory, and then million by million, it's actually, I mean, 1,000 by 1,000, million iteration is actually very small, so we can just quite quickly find all that. So what's the output? How many points do at least 2 lines overlap? Okay, so that's cool. All right, so let's start the TempleOS AoC 2021. So let's create dir mk05 at boom. All right, so I'm gonna just basically go into 05 and I'm gonna create a new file, main.hc. Right, so, and I'm gonna cd home AoC 2021, then 05, so we basically go in here, and then I want to include the common module, right? AoC 2021 common.hc, there we go. So we're going to create an entry point for the part 1. So this is presumably part 1. And I'm going to just run this entire thing. If I try to compile it, it compiles. Everything is fine. Everything is fine. So the first thing we need to do, we need to parse this entire stuff, right? We need to parse this entire stuff. So let me also take a look at the input, right? So that's the input. The input is not even padded anyhow. So that's totally fine. That is totally fine. All right, so let me actually grab the sample, right? So I'm going to quickly grab the sample and I'm going to put it into the operating system itself. So, and then I'm going to go into MNT home, right? AoC 05. ed sample .txt, right? Let me copy paste the sample. I'm gonna be copy pasting the sample and a boom, boom, boom. Okay, so then ed input.txt, right? And let's actually grab the input of the puzzle. I'm gonna select everything, copy paste everything in here, and then save everything. Cool. AoC. Alrighty. So let's go into 05, and if we take a look at the sample, this is not what I wanted. I wanted to do something like, there we go. So here is the sample and here is the input. Cool. So how are we going to read the entire stuff? I presume first we need to open the file, we need to read the file. So usually I like to switch between the sample and the input, so let's define something like input file. So this one is going to be sample.txt. So this one is supposed to be file read, input file. And that is it, if I remember correctly, right? So you also have to specify the size, right? So let me allocate super quick the string view, and I'm gonna actually read everything into that string view. So this is gonna be the size, and this is gonna be the begin. There we go. So I also need to save the begin because file read allocates the memory. So let's quickly do that. Save begin is going to be equal to save begin. And then after we read everything, I'm going to just free the memory that is pointed by saved begin. Cool. So now I have a string view. The question is, how do I want to store this entire stuff? Do I want to like just allocate 1000 by 1000 right away, and as I read the first line, I just like draw that line there and that's it? Is that what I want to do? So yeah, we'll see. We'll see. The winner gets T, that's for sure. So for now, you know what? I think I'm gonna go with the following thing. So for the input right now, the size of this entire thing is gonna be like around 20 or around 10, so it's a little bit easier to draw that, right? So we're gonna define something like board size. Is that a board? Well, let's actually call it board size. So this is gonna be like 10 or maybe even 15, right? And then if it's going to become input, right? If it's going to become input, I will define it like this: input file input txt, and then I'm going to define board as z, something like 1000, right? So, but while I'm working with specifically sample, I'm going to keep the size like this. Okay, so what's going to be the board? I suppose we can define it as 64, and this is the board, and this is a board size. Right, so this is the board size, and this is the board size. Interestingly enough, do I want to clean up? Where do I want to zero initialize the board? I think I can do that in here, right? Can do that in here. So this is going to be the board. I'm going to set it to 0, and I'm going to do size of I64. M3IU, I hope I pronounced your nickname correctly. Thank you so much for tier 1 subscription, and welcome to our epic TempleOS club. So this is going to be board as Z multiplied by board as Z. There we go, board to Z, and we zero initialize this entire thing. So I'm gonna start the loop and I'm gonna do SV sized greater than 1, and let's try to read this entire stuff, right? Let's try to read this entire stuff. I'm thinking, can I do something like user, right? So this is gonna be another one, and then I do win, a horizontal win tile horizontal. So apparently I'm starting to actually realize that the tiling is useful. I said that it's not particularly useful for me, but it is useful right now, because now I would be able to like have you know, two windows. In one window I can take a look at the source code. So here is the source code, and something went horribly wrong. Where is my solution? Did it not save it yet again? Did I accidentally press the shift escape instead of escape? God fucking damn it. Okay, so I'll have to type that one more time. Oh my god. Okay, so, and I don't even know how to switch between the windows, right? Sometimes you just like peacefully typing something and just like TempleOS fucks you over in the ass all of a sudden. I guess that's one of the great pleasures of using TempleOS. It's just, it can fuck you over in the ass at any point, right? You just like made a mistake and there we go. You have to retype literally fucking everything. Thank you so much, Terry. Very cool. Okay, so let's do it one more time. So I'm gonna quickly just retype everything. File read. Right, and oh my god, there was so much useful code that I need to retype it again. So annoying. Input input file. So this one is gonna be sample.txt, then another one is going to be board size, and for this thing I decided it's going to be this, if 1, and for this thing I decided to be 1000 input file input.txt. So this one has to be capitalized, otherwise TempleOS doesn't understand that. Board SZ is going to be 1000, and this is going to be endif. I'm gonna save it one more time just in case, because you never know. Input file, and this is gonna be SV size. Right, so, and I'm gonna do this thing, save begin, SV begin. And then we need to free save begin. Right, so I'm gonna save that. Okay, so the thing I wanted to do, I'm not going to split the windows yet again, because again I may mess up something and I don't want to retype this code yet again. Don't want to do that. Alright, so essentially I can just like chop one character or chop one number, then I can chop a single character and then chop one number yet again. Then this is a fixed amount of characters. It's essentially 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. I can chop 4 characters and yeah, and basically continue the rest of the stuff. So it's actually pretty easy to parse. It is really easy to parse. So let's do the following thing. While SV size is greater than 1, right. So I probably want to pre-allocate the following thing, x1, y1, x2, y2, right? And then I'm going to do the following thing, sv chop i64. I provide the pointer to sv, and the radix is going to be the default one, so I just have to do this thing. And then sv chop left, so we're chopping a single character out of this entire stuff. Then the next one, this is going to be y, sv chop i64, sv sv chop left. So, and after that we have like a huge space arrow and another space, so we can just do sv chop left sv and chop 4 characters out of that, and then we can pretty much repeat whatever we got here. Right, it's just like instead of x1 we're gonna have x2 and y2. So, and the last chop here basically chops off the new line, so that should be fine. Right, and after that, like on each parsed line we can just print their values, right, just to see if everything is correct. So y1d, x2d, y2d, x1, y1, x2, y2, and that should be it. So we can just run this entire thing, and as you can see we parsed everything more or less correctly. I think we did not. because 0909 looks a little bit sus, not gonna lie, unless I just made some sort of like a stupid fucking mistakes, man. All right, so one more time. 0909. I'm pretty sure in a sample it is not 0909. It's actually 59, right? But for whatever reason, this thing actually x2 is all zeros, right? X2 is all zeros, so it is in fact. Oh, I see. I think I should have not done this. Okay, so instead of, because there's no extra space in here. Okay, that explains it. Right, that explains it. So let me actually bring this thing back. Maybe I'm gonna put 4 in here and just remove this line, and that way everything is parsed correctly. Okay, that's cool. So we managed to parse the input. How about that? We managed to parse the input. So the next thing I want to do, I want to just allocate the board, right? So I64, here is your board, board SZ, and board SZ. And before I'm gonna do any of this stuff, I'm gonna just do, you know, mem set board 0 size of I64 multiplied by board SZ multiplied by board SZ. Right, and what I want to do, I just want to like draw a line, right? So Fat Dratini, thank you so much for. Thank you so much for 7 months of tier 1 subscription. Thank you, thank you, thank you, and welcome to Epic TempleOS Club. About that. So they also said that consider only the horizontal and vertical lines. That means in the input you may have a situation when, okay, I can already see that there is a situation when you know, this kind of stuff is not a line. Right, so let me see. So if I do something like this, so we're printing all of them. If x is not equal to x2 and y 1, so the internet went down for a second for whatever reason. I have no idea why. I mean, not the internet, the stream actually. The internet was fine, which is kind of sus, right? So it's just like my connection to Twitch went down super quick. Wait a second. That's very interesting. Okay, so anyway, let's continue. Let's continue solving the problem. And this thing is not equal to that thing. Only then try to print this entire stuff. I just want to see, right? Is there any lines that are not? Yeah. So we have like 4 lines that are not horizontal nor vertical, right? So that's basically what we have in here. So it was just really important for me to confirm that those things exist. Okay, so, and what I'm thinking is we may want to have a couple of functions, right? So let's do it like this. If board, if x1 equal x2, we may do the following thing: draw. Draw, so x is the same, right? X is the same, that means it's a vertical. Draw vert line. Draw vert line. So x1, y1, y2, right? So we draw a vertical line. If y1 equal to y2, draw horizontal line, right? We're drawing horizontal line, and it essentially is going to be y1, x1, x2. Right. So will there be situations when both x1 x's and y's are equal? I wonder if that's the case. So I'm pretty sure that's not the case for the sample, right? That's not the case for the sample, but it could be the case for the input, and I kind of want to confirm that it's not, right? So let me comment out this entire stuff. So I think it's quite important for this to not to be the case. If x1 equal x2 and y1 equal y2, we're going to print something like uvu, right? Uvu. And we might as well... Yeah, so basically they are literally the same, right? So they're literally the same. So, and I'm gonna quickly switch to the input, right? So I'm gonna quickly switch in here, and I'm gonna just run it. So it never actually did uwu, if I understand correctly, right? So it never did uwu, which is nice. So if I put foo in here, right, it will just do only foo but not uwu. Okay, so we know for sure that in the input, none of these things are equal. So though I never actually tested if the input is parsed correctly. So let me actually see. Okay, the input is parsed correctly, in fact. Cool. Okay, so let me retype this entire thing. Y1, Y2, draw horse line. So in here, Y1, X1, X2. Okay, so if I try to compile this entire thing, it will say that we have undefined identifier at here. So, and this is draw vertical line and draw horizontal line. Right, so we're gonna have this thing. All right, draw vert line. I64, so this is going to be X, and then I64Y1, I64Y2. So this is the first thing that we need to implement. Draw horse line, I64Y, I64X1, I64X2. So that's another thing that we wanna draw. Another interesting thing I would like to have, by the way, another very important thing, is ability to dump the board, right? So after we like read everything and drawn everything, I want to just take a look at that board, right? Just take a look at that board. So let's do something like dump board, yes. So I64XY, right, I64XY, and I'm gonna iterate starting from here. So it's gonna be 0, less than board size, plus Y. There we go. For X equals 0, X less than board SZ, plus X, right. So, and in here, I'm gonna do the following stuff, right, so maybe we want to pad everything, but here, probably not, let's actually not pad anything. So this is gonna be just D and the space, and here we're gonna do board YX, and then a new line, right, then a new line, so we have a dump board. Okay, cool. So after we read everything, I want to just dump board and see how it looks like. So we haven't used variable X and Y for whatever freaking reason, even though dump them. Okay, so let's actually call it dump. There we go. So that's a lot of shit, and this is because I'm using the input. I meant to use this thing, right? So let me take a look. So this is what I have. Okay, that's cool. So this is the board, right? The small board for the sample input. Okay, so that's cool. Now, what we want to do, we want to iterate through the Y's of the vertical line, right? Through the Y's of the vertical line and just like increment the cells of the board. So let's go. We're going to have I64Y. And Y, oh man, so Y can actually be, Y1 can be greater than Y2, so we have to consider all of that. Do we have something like min I64? Okay, this is actually pretty cool. So we do have min 64, but what is just a regular min? Let me see. I can't click on that, oh my god, because like mouse broken has again. Min is for floats apparently. Okay, that's fine. So let's do the following thing. Might as well, by the way, so we can actually do a simple trick. If Y is greater than Y2, we're gonna swap that. By the way, can I, have a swap operation. I have swap I64. So, and I just have to provide 2 pointers, so everything works. Okay, so that's actually perfect. We don't need min max or anything like that. So I can do swap I64, and I can just provide y1 and y2. There we go. Right, so that ensures that y1 is always less than y2, right? So this is what we're gonna have in here. Plus y. There we go. And then I'm gonna do the following things. It's gonna be board y, then x, and then plus plus. That should be it, right? So I think if I try to compile this entire thing, it already drawn some lines, as you can see. So there's a couple of ones in here. So it would be nice if instead of zeros, it would draw like dots, right? So we can basically mimic the actual thing in the description. Right, so we'll do the following thing. If board yx is this, right? We're gonna draw it like that. Otherwise, we're gonna draw it as a dot. Right, so let's go. Dot space semicolon, boom. There we go. So it's actually way more readable. So way more readable. So now we need to implement draw horizontal line. So it's the same as draw vertical line. It's just like you have to swap it around. Right. So is it like, does it, it doesn't, it even looks the same in here. Look at that. It even looks the same. Okay. So I64x, and if x1 is greater than x2, we swap those motherflippers. I64. X1, X2, there we go. For x equal x1, x less than equal x2, plus x, board y x plus plus. Right. So that's basically it. So if I take a look at this entire stuff, so here we have the result the same as in the, you know, in here. So that's pretty cool. The next thing we need to do, we need to count all of the cells with, you know, with the values greater than 1. How many points do at least 2 lines overlap? Okay. So essentially we can do this stuff somewhere here. So we're not going to dump the board. Maybe, I'm not sure if I want to dump the board, but yeah, there we go. So I64 answer is equal 0, and I don't really like that it's highlighting like that. So let's actually call it answer, not answer. Answer. So I'm going to iterate. I want to have x and y, so maybe I'm going to do something like this. Less board size plus y for x less board size plus x. If board yx is greater than 1, we increment answer. There we go. So, and then we can simply print that answer, right? So it's going to be part 1, D, and this is the answer. So far so good. Let me actually see. And it didn't work properly. So at 64. So what's up with 64? This is because we don't have x and y. Okay. So let's actually allocate all of these things, x and y. There we go. So we have 5 of them, right? So we have 5 of them. That's cool. So that is cool. That is cool. So let me try to use the input now. Right, so I'm gonna just in case allocate a little bit more input, like maybe like 10, and just like hope that it's not gonna, you know, fail. I hope I understood everything correctly, right? The number of points and stuff like that. So everything looks okay. So if I try to run this entire thing, right, so it didn't work because I forgot to actually swap this entire thing. Okay, so 5442, right. So I'm a little bit nervous. Because I'm pretty sure that nothing kind of like overflows 1000. We can actually easily check that, by the way. We can easily check that. I can just go ahead and like somewhere here do something like so. If How can I easily do that? If x1 is greater than 1000, even equal. I don't think it's even equal. Right, we're gonna do x1. Right, so, and if I can copy paste this entire stuff. All right, so this one is gonna be x2, x2, y1, y1, y2, y2, right? So none of them seem to be like causing any problems. So if anything is less than 1000, right, so it will print a bunch of x's, okay. But here, never, none of them ever are greater or even equal to 1000. So that should never cause a problem, right? But never say never. So that's why I'm gonna actually put a little bit of a padding. Okay, 54, 42, 54, 42. There we go. About that. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. Okay, so let's actually do a committee before going into the part 2. So I'm gonna close this entire thing. Let me see, git branch. So I'm gonna do sync into the host, right? Sync into the host. Alrighty. So this is gonna be git diff, git status, and I'm gonna add git AoC 2021. Let me take a look. Git status commit add day 05 part 1. Right, I'm gonna push that into the master. So if you wanna find the solutions to the problems, right, so you can find them in the description, and if you're watching live, you can find them in the chat. I'm gonna copy paste that into the chat. All right, so let's take a look at the part 2, right? Let's take a look at the part 2. Okay, continue to part 2. Unfortunately, considering only horizontal and vertical lines doesn't give you the full picture. You need to also consider diagonal lines because of the limits of the hydrothermal vent mapping system. The lines in your list will only ever be horizontal, vertical, or diagonal lines at exactly 45 degrees. In other words, in an entry like 1, 3 covers points 1, 1, 2, 2, 3, 3. An entry like this covers points 7, 9. Considering all the less. Okay. Okay, that is interesting. So you can just add another thing that handles diagonal lines, and that should be it. Still need to determine the numbers of points. Okay, let's go ahead and do that. So I'm already in AoC. So let's go. So I want to actually like pull out the code that reads the entire input. Maybe do I need to? No, I actually don't have to do that. I should think about that. Actually, I don't have to do that. So yeah, it's not really pullable out, but I can copy paste the part 1. I can just copy paste this entire thing into part 2. So this is going to be part 2, and here I'm calling to part 2. Alrighty, so this is part 2, and this is going to be the part 2. So did I already move to, okay, so this is the sample and stuff like that. So diagonal, in case of a diagonal, I think it's relatively straightforward, right? So you just basically accept both of the coordinates, like draw diagonal. So this one gonna be I64 x1, I64 x2, I64 y1, I64 y2, right? So you're gonna have something like this in here, right? So I64x and y, and interestingly, if x1 greater than x2, you can swap the I64, right? So it's gonna be x1, x2. The same goes for the y1 and y2, right? So we're gonna swap I64 y1, y2, And here we're gonna do the following thing. I'm gonna just iterate. Though, wait a second. Wait a second. It's basically gonna be, yeah, since they're always diagonal, you don't have to. You can basically reuse the same thing somewhere, right? So essentially, what is the easiest way to do that, actually? What is the easiest way to do that? You can find the difference between, like, one of those things, right? So since they are diagonal, it just like doesn't matter, right? So we can take x2 minus x1, right? So x2 minus x1, if it's 1, 2, 3, for instance, you need 3 of them, so you'll have to do like plus 1, and that's essentially going to be n, right? So that is essentially going to be n. And then you kind of like need only this variable in here, right? So this is going to be that, and you essentially iterate. Or maybe there is another interesting idea. You can have 2 of them and you iterate y. Yeah. So you can actually do something like this, right? So you can have x and y, right? So x and y. And then x is going to be equal to x1, y is going to be equal to y2, and then while x is less or equal than x1 and y is less than equal to y2, right? So you basically increment only those and increment both of them simultaneously, right? So this is one of the things you can do. Whatever, doesn't really matter. All right, so this is going to be board y x plus plus, and then x plus plus, and then y plus plus, and something like this. So this is like diagonal way of thinking. I wonder if you can compress this code, right? So I can try to think about compressing this entire code, right? But do I fucking care? That's the real question in here. Do I fucking care? So essentially, you can come up with some sort of like dx and dy, right? And if x equal to like x's are equal, you can set dx to 0, right? And that means it's never gonna actually go anywhere. So yeah, I wonder, like, do we even have like a sine function in here? So we can have like a sine. There's a sine 64. Okay, that's actually very cool. Yeah, that's precisely what I'm talking about. That's precisely what I'm talking about. And that way, maybe we don't even need to swap anything, right? So that's actually kind of cool. So you have x and y, right? And essentially what you're doing, I'm trying to remove all of that. We're gonna have I64 dx. Right, and then I'm gonna do x2 minus x1, and the only thing I do, I just do sine I64, right? So this is a sine I64, but I need to know what sine I64 does in case of like 0 and stuff like that. I wish I could see what the fuck is going on here, and I think I can. So there is a pretty cool feature in the editor, you can like drag it around. Okay, so sine of I64 minus 1, 0, or 1, and this is precisely what I wanted to have in here. So this is actually kind of cool. Right, so then I have I64 dy sine I64 y2 minus y1, right? So, and that kind of gives me the direction, and in here so here we can do something like this, not equal, right? So while it's not equal. So though we kind of want it to be equal, right? For like a moment. So I'll have to think about the condition in here, but that's kind of interesting, right? So we have dx and then dy. So you see what I'm talking about? Right, if at any point any of these things will become 0, so that thing becomes 0. But yet again, this stuff is just like not really clear how to handle in here. Yeah, so maybe we have to wait until all of them are equal. So we can do something like do right? So here is the do. So we do one thing, right? So here is one thing, and then while x is not equal to x2 or y is not equal to y2, right? So essentially when both of these things are equal to each other, both of the points are equal to each other, right? So that's the condition. And then we use De Morgan law, which basically means that all of these things are going to be negated, right? And then the end will become or, right? So we do at least one iteration, right? And we'll have at least one iteration when it becomes equal, will it not? I'm not sure. God damn. So I really just trying to compress these two things, but it just doesn't work out. I can leave it as it is, but I mean, like, it's kind of would be kind of nice to compress these two things. So yeah, maybe I need to make a small break, right? So maybe I need to make a small break and refill my water and stuff like that. So let's make a small break. So let's continue. Let me think how we can approach this entire stuff. I'm really lazy to come up with some sort of like elegant solution, right? Because I know these kind of like moments, like a lot of people who are into intellectual masturbation will rat hole about that for like for days, trying to think about something super elegant and stuff like that. And I'm kind of old for this kind of shit. Like, I don't care at this point. So I'm just gonna go with the dumbest solution possible. Like, I really don't fucking care. I'm sorry. I really don't care anymore. I just want to have something that works. So we're gonna have something like this. I know for a fact that these things are not like I forgot the word that I wanted to say. Whatever. So we're gonna have n, which is essentially like any of these things, right? It doesn't matter, they are diagonal, so that means they're gonna be like square. So I could pick x2 minus x1, or I could pick in fact, well, wait a second. So could it be the other way around? Right, it could be actually the other way around. Yeah, so it could go, yeah, it could go some other way. So this is not how we have to do that. So if they're swapped around, so it could be like main diagonal, or it could be like a secondary diagonal as well. Could be also secondary diagonal as well. So because of that, doing this thing is kind of dangerous, if you know what I'm talking about. Doing this kind of stuff is dangerous. You don't really want to do that. You don't want to really do that. Though you can quite easily calculate the like how many steps you need to make by doing something like x2 minus x1, right? And then maybe taking an absolute value, right? So it can be ABC I64, right? So you take an absolute value and that gives you something like this, right? So that allows you to just have something like I0 and less than n plus plus I. So that's what it allows you to do here. So then quite easily you can do the following stuff where you just take x1 plus the sine of x, right? So it's going to be sine of I64 x2 x1, right? So that gives you the sign multiplied by I, right? So multiplied by I, and this is basically the x coordinate, right? So this is the x coordinate, so you can put it here, and then you can have something like y plus sine I64 y2 minus y1 I coordinate, and then you can do board y, x, and plus I, something like that. Probably. Not sure if it's a good solution, but it is something. It is in fact something. So let me actually close this entire stuff, and I kind of want to test how it's gonna look like. Right, so in part 2, so I'm running. I just pressed Shift Escape instead of Escape, and it removed all of my solution. I have to retype it yet again. Sometimes I forget that, yeah, so there's two things in TempleOS. You can press Escape and it saves everything, and you can press Shift Escape, it doesn't save everything. And if it doesn't save everything, it's not gonna tell you anything. It will just not gonna save anything. So we have to retype it again, right? So we have to retype it again. So I was about to test my solution. I accidentally pressed Shift Escape, and this is what happened. Okay, but I suppose that's part of the challenge, right? So this is supposed to be part of the challenge using this beautiful operating system. Anyway, so this is a part 2. It's not like I modified much in here, so I didn't think it matters. Right, so let's draw a diagonal thingy. I just realized the way I wrote the diagonal function, I think it can draw any line. Can it not? I think it can. Wait a second. That's actually a pretty good idea. So if I go to part 1, right, and I go back to sample, right, so this is the sample, and let me just draw the board because I want to see how it looks like. So here's the board, so this is how the board looks like. So can we just do something like draw a line? U0, draw a line. I64 x1, I64 y1, I64 x2, I64 y2. Right, so and yet again, I64 xy. What else do we have in here? I64. Well, maybe I'm gonna have something like I. Right, so this is gonna be n, and oh, okay. So this one is rather interesting. We can do something like ABS I64 x2 minus x1 minus x1, and we can do both of them. So it's going to be ABS I64 y2 minus y1, and we can take a maximum between them, right? Max I64. Right, because if some of them are vertical or horizontal, one of the values is going to be 0 essentially, right? And we don't want to have that. Right. So another things we can have in here, well, I mean, it doesn't matter. So this is going to be 0 less than n plus I, right? So something like this. X is going to be equal to what? x1 plus sine I64, x2 minus x1 multiplied by I. Right, so this is one thing. I'm gonna save the source code one more time because, you know, I may accidentally press Shift Escape and then I will have to retype everything. I64, y2 minus y1 multiplied by I, there we go. So here is that thing, and then I'm gonna do board y, and this is gonna be x, and this is just like plus plus. And the question is, can I use draw line instead of both draw vertical line and draw horizontal line, right? Because if one of them are horizontal, right, one of these things will become 0, and that gives me the length anyway. Right, that gives me the length anyway. And if one of them 0, one of these things will 0, and that means I'll be staying at the same position. So I think that is doable, in fact. I think that is doable. So essentially what I can do in here for part 1, right. I just want to check, all right, I just want to check if I can just do draw line. where I do x1, y1, x2, y2. So here I can remove these things. So here I can put something like or, y1 and y2, right? And the question is, will it produce the correct result? Right, so I'm running the part one. So let me try to do that. So it produced 2, which is not particularly correct. Right, as you can see, it is definitely not correct. And the reason is probably because I'm a dummy. Uvu. Right, I'm definitely a dummy because I have to do +1, I think. So somebody subscribed. Thank you so much, Joel1337. Thank you, and welcome to our epic TempleOS club. Right, so I think I have to do like +1 for those things. Because, yeah, so that makes sense, actually. And now this entire thing is correct. But the question is, will it work on the actual input in here? So will it work on an actual input? So if I do something like this, I've made a mistake of actually dumping this stuff, right? So let me remove this stuff. Well, this is not where I wanted to remove it. I wanted to remove it somewhere here. Right, so this is going to be that, and it's 5442. It was 5442, I think. So yeah, it is usable for horizontals and verticals. That is very cool. All right, so maybe we can do the same thing in here. Essentially, by getting rid of this entire stuff, all right, so this is going to be part 2, and just always feeding that into the draw line, right, x1, y1, x2, y2, like always feed it into there, and here is your part 2. Right, so here is your part 2, and I actually want to take a look at the sample and see if the sample is the same, right, so I'm going to just run this entire thing, and it says that it's 12, and is that true? Is that 12? It is in fact 12 points. Right, so let's actually remove the board and switch to the actual input. Right, switch to the actual input. And if I run it, it's 19,571. Probably not correct, because for some reason my brain doesn't work today. 571, is that correct? It is correct, there we go. Cool. So yeah, apparently it is compressible, right? So I was thinking like, how can I come up with a just single function that can draw both horizontal and vertical ones? So here is the function. So this is how it looks like. So let me actually like do the following thing. This is kind of bizarre. Wait a second. So part 1 and part 2, the only difference between part 1 and part 2 is a condition. So you remove this condition and it's just like it's a part 2. What the fuck is this shit? Wait a second, why it is like that? All right, so this is gonna be part 2. What? The Advent of Cat this year is actually super weird. I'm not gonna lie, it is really weird. So yeah. Okay. Alrighty. So let's do a committee and maybe even a pushy. How about that? So I'm gonna do sync and sync it into the host AoC 2021. Right, so there we go. Git diff. And this is the solution. Let me take a look at the status. Get it AoC 2021 commit. Add day 5 part 2. Right, I'm gonna push that right into the master. I think it's a master, it's not main. I don't remember. Some of my repos have master, some of them have main or something like that. I don't freaking remember anymore, man. So, alright, so if you wanna check out the source code, you can find it in the description. If you are watching live, you can find it in here. So... Alright, does anyone have any questions about what we've just done? Daily Coder is gifted sub. I actually missed that Daily Coder gifted sub to Cross24x. Thank you so much for gifting the sub. I don't know how I missed that, but I did in fact miss that. Alrighty. Okay, that's cool. All right, I guess that's it for today. Thanks everyone who's watching me right now. I really appreciate it. Have a good one, and I see you on the next session. So yeah, it is what it is, and it isn't what it is. And see you on the 6th day. Thanks everyone for watching. Love you.